Peace, fam. It's your brother Shaka Shakur. Out here getting it in the yard. But while I'm training, I want to talk about some things that I think. When I'm working out, I think. And the things I notice, I speak about. And you may feel the same way, you might not feel my way. That's all right. But I just want to get it out. One of the things I noticed with the movement is that we have a trend mentality. It's almost like a fashion state. Whatever is the hottest thing, that's what we go with. And that is crazy. We have to really be critical and look at our movement. Why are we not progressing? Because we're not changing the template of organizing. We're organizing in the same old fashion. One or two or three people rise up and everybody flock to either one of those camps. That's not what it's about. Some of you still think you're leaders or that you're going to have a leader. No, we have leadership, but we don't need leaders. This thing is organic. It's going to happen on its own. You know who really dictates the flow of our movement? The oppressor. Because based on their level of oppression, they're going to force you into a position of reaction. Point blank. Let me use something really concrete that you can grab onto. We have a brother, Dr. Umar Johnson. Good brother. He's doing his thing. And I have no problem with it personally. But what I'm noticing is people are not supporting the brother, they're following the brother. It's a big difference between supporting and following. Religions need followers. Movement needs supporters. People who are willing to get in and do the work that it takes to make it happen. That's the big difference. Not just come to a lecture or turn on a video. That's following. That's why they call it followers. When you're on Instagram, you're following someone. When you're on Facebook, you're following someone. And the reason they say following, because you're just going behind whatever they say or do. It doesn't require any input. Revolution only works for those who are participating in it. Participating, not sitting. So when people see these charismatic people that rise up, and we're gonna rise up because we're people that we every once in a while we shoot somebody out. So when this happens, you end up in Black Power Church. And the brother Umar, by the way, was a good friend of mine. I'm totally in support. And I'm going to get into how to support in a minute. Anyone that's going to support, there's a way to support and there's a way to follow. But what I noticed is that whether it was, Black, when we're talking the 90s, when the Lambe Brath and, others of that statue were out here doing their thing, it was the same thing. People would go to these classes or go to these lectures religiously. Notice I use the word religiously. And they would listen. And they could regurgitate what they heard. But they couldn't activate on it because they weren't internalizing or really learning from what they were hearing. See, in education, we have been taught through our oppression. It's a form of teaching called the banking theory. And the banking concept basically is a whole lot of information is input in you, like a bank. And when needed, you regurgitate it. But it's never really processed so that you can understand exactly what it is you should be doing or could be doing. So this is why people rise up and then they fall. And then you say that it's the leadership. It's not the leadership. It's your inability to act on what that leadership is saying to you. I.e., we have the People Survival Program. It's cool. It's nice. But it's not going to go nowhere as long as you're waiting for Shaka Shakur and his band of followers, to run in and save you. That doesn't happen. Why do we go through people? One, you know why there's a high turnover rate? Two reasons. One, you want a leader, you want a figurehead who's perfect. That's not going to happen. So get out the Bible. Throw that old Jesus shit in the garbage. You're dealing with people who are real. See, we only demand this of our own people. We don't demand this as your job. When your boss or the owner of your business or company, majority of times is a white man, can have all kinds of flaws in the world, and you will find a reason to stay there. You won't be like, oh, I said I quit. This guy is this, that, and I quit. No, because you believe in him. But when it comes to your own people, and you know what we go through because you go through it, as soon as we're not up to par, boom, in the garbage can, on to the next thing. And then you run from one camp to the other camp looking for some hidden solution, when actually this is a war. So all solutions are valid. Get into your own self. Don't get into someone else. Now, the Black Power Church, back to that. Farrakhan, the minister, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, which I happen to have a lot of respect for, he is the last of that style of organizing where it's a leader that feeds, the many, or the shepherd and the flock mentality. He's the last. There are no more. That generation, that style of doing it, that's it. That's it. It's over. So what we need to be doing is thinking in a new way. We need to be able to say to people, okay, let's come up with a general platform and then let the platform manifest as it will, where it will. Sort of like gardening. When you're gardening, you plant a seed. Okay, so you planted the seed in this particular row. It might grow over there, or it might grow over there, but you want it to grow regardless. You planted the seed, that's it. You aid the seed until the seed is able to aid itself. That's what the struggle is about. We keep fighting the enemy on their terms. That's why you get your ass kicked. And you're going to continue to get your ass kicked because you fight on their terms. Because their terms have been redesigned for their victory. Hello? You say you want independent schools. Don't wait for Umar Johnson to raise however many thousands of dollars to build the first of that kind of school. What you do is you create smaller versions of that idea now on your own, so that later on you can contribute to that grand scheme. That's organizing. That's how you support something. I said on Facebook the other day, I went back to school. Why? Because I wanted to get a degree in a couple of fields so that I can be useful when the time comes. I'll have that skill. You can get a trade or a skill or whatever, because you want to make yourself a useful part of a serious solution. If Brother Umar opened the school he's talking about, the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, tomorrow, he couldn't hire half. Because if you have a felony, you haven't done the process to get your felony dumbed down so that you can get a job. Most of you don't have no degrees in teaching. You think you're going to go in that school and start teaching about Egypt, ancient Kemet? No, you got to know basic arithmetic, math, science, history. There's a curriculum that still has to be upheld. You will still have to be a certified teacher. You will need a master's degree in order to do this. Most of you don't even have a diploma, let alone a master. So you're not serious about liberation. If you are serious about educational warfare, then you would be getting the ammunition needed in that field. I'm serious about the idea of military warfare, military science. So I try, to the best of my ability, to acquire all of the skills in that field. I learned self-defense. I learned first aid. I learned combat thinking and strategies. I physically train. I stay engaged because I understand the science of warfare. It's not just about get a gun and run over there. There's a whole science to this, and I'm serious about it. Because I know at the end of the day, whether we initiate the fighting or not, it's going to come down to that. There's no way in the world this devil is going to let you just take back everything that he has taken over thousands of years. So let's be realistic. A lot of you out there, you don't want to be liberated. You want to be heard, that's peace. You got a problem you want to solve, that's peace too. But liberation, far away. Now what I'm about to say will upset a few people. Police brutality is not the movement. Police brutality is not the pinhead of this struggle for liberation. Police brutality is the result of what is the pinhead to why we fight for liberation, and that is to fight against white supremacy. And white supremacy and oppression, one of the major forms of it that we see is done through police brutality to keep slaves in check. They've been doing it for hundreds of years. Now they've gone back to lynching people straight up. Now, there will be those of us who are prepared to go and physically stand against that kind of oppression. There will be those of us who are skilled in the language to be able to use the language to explain to the masses of people what is being done by those who will physically rise up so that we are not divided in our understanding of what's going on. I just posted an article today on Facebook. They released, a man was just shot the other day on 34th Street, Midtown. He was waving a hammer at a cop. The other cop shot him. What the article was about is how they interviewed people right after this traumatic experience. And those people had conflicting reports on what happened. One person said they saw someone running handcuffed and was shot. Another person said the guy was running from the police and was shot. But the camera showed that the police approached him, he pulled out the hammer and started swinging. So they went on to say that under traumatic experiences, when stress kicks in, the mind can fill in gaps and make you see things that didn't happen or perceive it in a way it didn't happen. This is a well-known fact. It is categorized or cataloged under the experiences of post-traumatic stress syndrome, i.e. the effects of warfare. Well, you and I live in a continual warfare, a continual war zone. So we continually suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. We call it post-traumatic slave disorder. So what they are prepping us to believe is that the next time we see something happen and we try to become witnesses to what happened, that maybe you're not seeing it the right way because theory proves or study proves that under PTSD, people have a tendency not to accurately recall what they just saw. Now, the average person would read the article and just feel like, wow, this is a great fact. I didn't think about that. But you'd be unaware to the fact that what's being done is subliminal in your mind. A thought is being put in you to doubt the story the next time it comes out. Because the next time a cop shoots someone, if you read this article, you're going to reflect back to that article in your mind, your subconscious, and you're going to say, hey, maybe he didn't do it. It was a traumatic situation. Maybe they saw it wrong. Why am I pointing that out? I'm pointing that out to show you one example of warfare, psychological warfare. You understand? But you won't notice unless you study and acquire the skills to understand the many levels of warfare. You would have to be a student in the science of warfare. Now, I do that so I can actively be a part of the solution when this warfare is waged on us. The same thing goes with the educational zone. If you're not acquiring the knowledge, and don't come at me with, we don't need a Western way of thinking. You live in a Western society. You were captured by Western captors. You were enslaved in a Western society. You built the Western society. It is all you know. You are learning an Eastern or African way of thinking, but right now you are a product of Western thinking. So in order to escape or get away from Western thinking, you have to first know what it is so that you can teach it. It's very simple science. It's a science that's so simple, we don't even think about it. Now, back to following and supporting. June 6th, our brother Umar and David Banner, they're going to give a big lecture here in New York, and I wish them well. A lot of people that I know bought a ticket to go to it. That's good. You supported it. That's support. You bought a ticket. Money was exchanged. That's physical support. But people are describing it like they're going to a damn concert. Yo, I got my ticket. You got yours? Because I'm going. I mean, I'm glad you're enthused, but it's not a concert. You're going to gather information to then come back and get busy. But because you follow, you're going to take the information, you're going to come back, you're going to talk amongst yourselves, critique it or whatever. And that's about the size of it. Nothing else is going to happen because you're in follow mode. Support mode would be you go there with a pen and paper, jot down information, come back home, sit amongst yourselves, process further the information that you acquired at the lecture, and then implement. Go into school boards, become part of PTAs, get better relations with with teachers about your student. Your child is their student. He or she is the student. How much understanding do you know? Make yourself a functional part of the school society because you don't have one right now, so they're there. So while they're there, you have to make yourself a part of that paradigm. That is called insertion, infiltration. That is also a tactic of warfare. We're at war. This video that I'm putting out right now, that I continually put out, people say, oh, you always on Facebook. Hello, stupid. This is a part of warfare. It's propaganda. It's putting out the correct analysis so that we will know right from wrong. Everyone should be doing this. You complain about CNN, that's controlling nigga news, but what are you doing? Nothing. Complaining. While I grieve to the most with parents who lose their children to police violence or to violence amongst ourselves, I must remain and I must always understand that these parents, in their pain, have been baptized into a struggle that I have been in. So a lot of the times they're going to respond and react from a position that might not be the best for us, or might not be the best for them, but may be the best for what they're going after, which is immediate justice. The loss of a loved one does not mean that you give up on the system. The loss of a loved one only means that you know or you notice that there's a problem with the system. So I don't expect someone for your baby or your loved one to be killed by police and you like, okay, that's it, that's the system, I'm with it. Most of y'all gonna do the typical. You need a lawyer, and the lawyer's gonna do what lawyers do. They're gonna try to get you judicial justice. And I'm not against that. But I'm not gonna ask that person or those people, what do you think we should do as a movement? No. And a lot of you groups that work with these parents or victims of this genocide, whether it's self-inflicted or otherwise, stop using them as poster people. Stop throwing them to the front of your paper or your daily newsletter or your latest video blog to make it seem like you're doing something and your organization's all about it. Now they need your support. They don't need you to exploit them. Stop exploiting these families. And I'm calling it like it is. Because what happens when the families don't win? You throw them away. And if they win a little money, you hang around for a while. Stop it. Take these families and utilize the time that you have with these families to begin to properly educate them to the infrastructure and mentality of what is going on. Do not use this for a photo op. Do not use this for some personal badge of glory. You are a revolutionary. Your job is simply to fight. That's it. It is not to become famous. It is. I don't give a damn if I'm never remembered in a book or someone's nighttime story. My job is to fight, to train, and to engage. That's my purpose on earth until I die. I'm a warrior. That's what we do. Whether it's in a schoolroom, a boardroom, or the back room. Our job is to engage when we see trouble. Some people do it in different forms, but nevertheless, at the end of the day, sums all added up. That's your total sum. Your job is to defend people and then go die. Very simple. Stop twisting these families up against each other. Stop exploiting them. I mean, damn, can I just go to one rally for someone who's been taken out by the police and we're all on the same page? Everyone I go to is a story of how a group started like this, now it's splintering. And this group don't like this one. And this one don't like that one. And this one talking about that one, but we're the real ones because we're here. Come on, stop that. You're supposed to start like this and then become that. Not start like this and become that. What the hell is that? That's because you don't know what your role is. Because followers can't become good supporters without proper instruction. Not indoctrination. Information leads to liberation. Indoctrination leads to more oppression and more followers. If you're out here, you know, a man just got lynched in Greensboro, Atlanta. I'm talking to all of you in Atlanta. I said it in writing. Now I'm saying it to your face. As close as I can get with this camera. A lot of you in the Atlanta area, you be flashing your guns on Facebook, you know, with your vests and all that other stuff. You rigged up, ready to go. A lot of nearby counties and nearby states, you have these gun clubs you formed. Get behind, and I'm going to shout out Gorilla Mainframe, and I'm going to shout out the UP Newton Gun Club. Why? Because I like what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring militant factions together to form a united front on that issue. That's what I'm talking about, playing your lane. They're not going up against people who think it's education. They're not battling against people who think it's spiritual. They're not doing that. They're playing their lane. They understand what their lane is, and they're uniting all the fractions within their lane. And you spiritual people, you should be doing the same. I saw a picture in Baltimore of a sister with a smudge stick going over the whole line of police that was standing there. See, people that think it's a spiritual, because it is a spiritual warfare, but I'm not going to get into that. But if that's your speciality, then you should be uniting other spiritual people into a collective block of spiritual warriors to go out and block the way so you can open up and then we can come through and do what we got to do. And then the physical warriors, you do the same thing. The militants, we come out, we do what we got to do, we open up, and then the next wave comes in. And that next wave will be those who are good at institution building. Because some of us, even though we know we need institutions, we're not equipped to build those institutions. So this is where the laborers, the educators, the philosophers, the scholars, this is where they come in. And they do their thing. Because see how one came, bang, next one hit. One came, bang, next one hit. That is the strategy of Shaka Zulu. Except he moves like this to a circle. He encompassed the enemy. And when he opened up, nothing was left. We're doing it the other way. We're coming as a wall. And this wall is blocking off everything. It's sort of like the phalanx structure that was introduced, you know, not by Greeks, but by Hannibal to the Greeks. And this phalanx structure kept this line like this. You see it a lot in movies like 300 and Alexander the Great. And even now, when the police move in riot form, they use this structure. And they block off everything. And then, when you get close enough to the enemy, you open up, snatch the enemy, and close back up. Like a Venus flytrap. See, I study warfare, so I understand what these tactics are. These tactics can be used in a physical form or in a hypothetical form, but they're good tactics to use nonetheless. And this is what you have to do. So, in Greensboro, Atlanta, I need my spiritual people close to the area. Because to go there, to that area, work your spiritual power and free that man's soul from that tree. So he can go in peace. And do that everywhere somebody falls, whether it's from internal beef or external beef. Go there and free the person, free the energy, free the land. That's freeing the land. Because as long as that blood hangs from them trees and drips, we're never going to see through it. And that's a spiritual jewel and a direction. Same thing for you church-going people. I ain't talking about just them. You church people, you Muslims, do the same thing. Go make 2 rakats where that man fell. Go say a 23rd Psalm where that man fell. Show some real support. And you militants in the area, most of you in the South have a right to carry weapons openly. Exercise that right. The Don't just carry a weapon when you're going to shoot a black man. Carry a weapon to defend somebody. Or go make a statement. That's where you make a press statement. You go there with weapons and you stand your ground and you make a statement that we're not going to have it. And then you start patrolling those neighborhoods. Patrol the areas. You know, stop being Negroes and become Negroes with guns. I advocate the use of armed defense because it's necessary. Defense, not offense. Don't try to trap my words. We have a right to protect ourselves. We don't have a right to take anyone else's right to protect themselves or to harm anyone for no reason, but we damn sure got a God-given right to protect ourselves. Exercise that right. Don't let anyone take that right from you. These are the things we have to begin to do. I'm not a great big chess player, but I like the idea of chess. Let's look at the chessboard, for instance. On the chessboard, there are pieces. You have pawns, rooks, knights, bishops, king, queen. Or castle, bishop, knight, or horse, king, queen. Now, when you're playing chess, you have some people who specialize the use of a certain piece. They're masters with the queen, or masters with the defense of a king, masters with the L-shaped maneuver of the horse or the knight, masters with that diagonal approach of the bishop, masters with that linear approach of the rook or the castle. Some are masters with the use of pawns and luring people in with the use of pawns. Some people are masters at those things. But what I want to point out is that all of those things have to be used in a special recipe, if you will, to gain success. You can't win with just one piece. People have won with a piece only because the other person didn't know how to utilize their defenses. But when you're going up against a formidable opponent, you have to use all pieces. There is no one piece that you rely on all the time. You got to be flexible. There's a time for the rook, a time for the bishop, a time for the knight, and a time for the queen, and a time for the king, and a time for the pawns. But how does that relate to society? Okay, when I say there's a time for the knight, that is the knight, that is the warrior. There's a time for the knight to come out and go to combat for the rest. There's a time for pawns. Pawns, what are pawns? Pawns are the forces that you have. Sometimes we have to make sacrifice to get gain. That's the pawnage. Or the bishop. Sometimes spirituality is important. Spirituality can be an important weapon. Bishop. Or the castle, the home base, the rock. That rock can be used sometimes to defend us, to protect us. And the fort can move depending on where we're at. The queen moves in all directions. She has what? The wisdom, the total eyesight of everything going on and the ability to move in all those arenas. She is the matriarchal force that keeps the earth, which is also a matriarchal force, moving, rotating, preparing, defending, etc. And then the king, the source of the power, but not the complete power. He is the source or the figurehead of power, but without all those other pieces, he would be useless. Without his queen, who can go from here to there like that, he would be useless. Translate it for yourself. Think about it. And you'll be able to see what I'm saying. You'll understand exactly what I mean. Get your cameras, family. I have a show called Afrikan Talk. This will probably be on an episode. If I don't just put it out as a blog, get that camera and go to the scene when something happens and get the story and give it to our people for real. From our mouths to our ears. Use this Facebook until they shut it down. Use Instagram until they shut it down. Use Twitter. Use Uvu. Use Tango. Use anything they put out there against them until they get so frustrated that they take it away and then create something else. Hell, do it, put it on a DVD, package it, and here's the latest edition of blah, 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 hot off the press, and go to your man's barbershop or beauty parlor, homegirl, and play it in while you getting your nails done. Play it up there, so people can hear it and see it while they're sitting there. Do those things. Stop being victims. Stop being followers. What I tried to give you today is ways to support. I don't want you to follow Shaka Shakur. I want you to support Shaka Shakur. Yeah, I'm part of an organization called the Black Soldiers. I love the brothers and sisters who are with me. Yeah, I would love to see black soldiers as a group all over the place. But I do. Whether you have on the vest like me or not, if you stand up against oppression, you're a black soldier. So take the template and work it. And if you fill in the lines, raise the flag. Raise the black soldier flag and let them know that there's soldiers in the community. And align with other soldiers, because the black soldiers is not the Black Panthers. No pun at them and no disrespect, but we're not an organization. I didn't want it to be an organization. I wanted to create a real functioning front. And I gave the front a name. Because if I didn't give it a name, first thing people ask, what you trying to do? What's your ultimate plan? So I gave it a name so you can conceive what I'm saying. But ultimately, it's as organic as the day. You do what you do, where you do it. You're ministers of mayhem. Just fight the system the best way you know how. But don't fight each other. Support good ideas. Be humble. And what I mean by humble, let me give you an example. In my life, I've been blessed to create a learning structure called the Janame University. Right? Then I got wind of Brother Umar. And I was like, man, this dude is really good at this education. I can see that. That's his love. That's his passion. So I'm not going to get rid of the Janame University, but I'm pushing it closer towards what he's doing. Or I'm using it now to at least prep people's minds so that when his school is off and running, I can say, go over there now. You don't need to be here no more. There it is. That's support. You don't hold people just because you want people around you. If they're ready, let them go. Go do what you do over there. I hope one day that all of it can work together. I personally would like to see the creation of a military school for the science of military. We need a military science school. A black West Point, if you will. That's a personal dream. And I know that he has that within his school, but we can use more than one, but I'm not going to waste the energy trying to compete with him. Let's get that one off the ground first. And what can I do to help you, bro? Because we're in the same struggle. My brother Mumia Abu Jamal is not looking good. God hold him as long as we can. But learn from that, family. Stop putting one people in prison and another. Keep it as a group. Political prisoners, period. Because we want to show that it's a collective problem, not an isolated incident. A military man from the European military, black man though, just died in, I think, El Paso, Texas. And the video shows him gasping before he died. That's a damn shame, man. This man went and fought for another country, for this country, and died in the hands of this country. But it's shameful. But you know what kills me is even more shameful? How soon we forget. How many black men came home from World War I and II and were hung and lynched in their uniform, burned alive in their uniform, shot for having a uniform on? So while I bleed in the tragedy, or grieve, in the tragedy of this one man, I do not forget the tragedy of so many black men. Then the official report is that they wish for laws that can protect the military men who come home, so that if they are detained in a non-governmental function, such as a police department, that their lives can be protected. What about the lives of all the other black people that died in cells like that one guy who just happened to be from the military, and that's why it has light? What about them? I'm not going to forget them. I've laid in a cold cell. I know what it's like. I've laid in a burning hot cell on a burning hot day, and you can barely breathe. I've been there. You know, why my passion is so deep? Because through my life, the Most High, the universe, has let me have a taste of what real oppression is like. A small taste of what it is like, and it's not cool. You know? Man, I've been shackled, wrist shackled, ankle shackled to another black man while we're paraded in front of white people like animals. I've been there. I've seen the pain on mothers' faces, including my own, when they have to watch their sons be unshackled like animals. I've gone out and shoveled cow shit, And I'm saying that just to cover cow shit. I'm covered in cow shit. Because that's what I have to do while this white man stands over me with a gun. He can kill me at any moment, calling me a nigga, and I'm making 10 cents a day, which is nothing. Free labor, damn near. But sometimes it's free labor. I've been there, so I know why I cannot stop fighting for freedom. It's not about police brutality. I tasted what a slave feels like. And I ain't with it. And I'll be damned, I'll die first before that becomes the norm. Slavery is abolished except for the convicted felon. Remember that. 1.5 million men are incarcerated. That's more than at the height of slavery. Black men. Lastly, Sister Harriet Tubman is slated to be on the $20 bill. That's what's up, right? No, it's not what's up. I don't agree with that. You take a woman that's a freedom fighter and you put her on a $20 bill like that's supposed to mean something to us. Man, fuck your $20 bill. Keep that slave ass driving Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill so I can remember just how corrupt your white asses are. Put that sister on the money. Sister Harriet Tubman spent her whole life freeing enslaved Africans who at the time were the most valuable commodity in America. We were the $20 bill. We had more value with our black skin than the money had at that time. So she spent her life breaking the capitalist hold on our people, breaking the structure of slavery, which was the financial base of this government. She spent her whole life beating it down. And then you go and put her on the dollar bill, on the $20 bill? That's an insult. She didn't die to be remembered on some damn bill. She said she could have freed more if we'd only knew. So her work wasn't even done. So black people, don't go for these little trinkets. Malcolm X on the stamp, everybody happy. You know, I let you have that. I don't give a damn about that. You put Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Ida B. Wells, all these great people on stamps to send letters through a postal system that sent postcards around the world of our brothers and sisters being lynched. The post office for almost 100 years reaped revenue off selling images of our maimed, killed, lynched black brothers and sisters. So off of black bodies swinging, this institution that started as a Pony Express with damn near no money, made millions and built its empire that we see now, the U.S. postal system. And you put freedom fighters on a stamp? Man, look, y'all ain't thinking. You're not thinking. You're getting caught up in, I just want to be seen. That's not what they died for, and I'm not going for it. Plain and simple. Well, what do you want, Shaka? I mean, damn, what do you want? Freedom. Freedom and liberty and the right to be an African. That's what I want. Freedom for my people. I want my land back. I want the colonialist settlers out of Africa. I want to eventually see us have more stake in Africa, not China. You know, I was at Akai Gurley's court case yesterday, court date, got adjourned to June 23rd. But while I'm sitting there, I'm looking, and I'm noticing like the Asian support for the cop who killed our brother. And while we were out there, one Asian man had the nerve to say, well, it's not that important. Like, he just killed him. It's all right. It's not that important. And, you know, it caused the melee, which it should have. But my thing is, damn, these Asians have taken over Africa. We've given some of them king status in certain countries because they've come in with their money and their machines and taken over. And then they're over here killing us and saying, black lives don't matter. I'm Asian. Nobody cares about us but us. You better wake up and realize that. So look, It's your brother Shaka Shakur. Things I've said today, you can ponder on it, take it, or throw it away. I don't give a damn. We got work to do. Those of us who want to do it, we'll see each other in the field of battle. I'm not concerned personally about becoming a legend or becoming some hero or some folk legend. I don't care about none of that. I'm concerned about if I can't get freedom in my lifetime, I'm going to definitely poke a hole so big that they can never, ever sew it back up so my younger generations can get it. Real power. So, to organizations, I'm not going to say just stop beefing with each other. Spend more time beefing with the enemy. Period. To my people, Abibi Fahodi, Uhuru Sasa, the struggle continues. It's not over. It's not over by a long shot. Get right, get your mind right, get your body right. Run with people who think like you. If they're not thinking like you, cut them off. Meaning, if they're not thinking about how to get away and get free, you don't need to be with them. They're going to turn you in anyway. As soon as it get hot. To the young people, keep an open mind, open eyes, and an open heart for your kind. Black first. Love your black skin first. Everybody else loves theirs. Love yours. All right?